That is the combo we want, chat. That uppercut.
This Bulwark Powerfist build is incredibly fun and versatile to play. In this video, we're going to look at how the animation cancelling can work strongly in your favour, whilst also considering which Powerfist attack patterns open up different opportunities to maximise your DPS against Majoris and elite enemies. Once you accept that the Powerfist is not going to cleave down hordes of enemies and focus on what it's intended for, taking out elites, you can have an excellent time with this build. Combining this with the shock kit of the Bulwark and the punchy plasma setup that gets the most out of AoE and burst damage opportunities against hordes, bosses and Majoris enemies alike, you can create a build for the Bulwark that absolutely obliterates your adversaries with ease. Now, is this better than the Power Sword? No, I don't think it is, but it certainly is a really enjoyable and viable alternative to use, especially if you're just looking for a change of pace now that the game's been out for quite a while. The playstyle for this build is very simple. Focus on opening up attack chains with Cannon Punch to benefit from its 50% damage increase, and follow it up quickly with a combination of Thrust Jab 2 and or Back Fist 1 and 2, or just a simple Back Fist. Each of these named combos are different lengths, with the ultimate option being Thrust Jab 2. Ending any of these combos with a quick animation cancel lets you start winding up your next set of attacks much more quickly rather than just letting the animation finish. So get into the habit of studying your enemy's attack patterns and understanding which combos fit best for each eventuality, and make sure you're ready for those parries at a drop of a hat, and also make sure you're ready to animation cancel so you can reinitiate the attack loop. For example, there are opportunities after each rocket punch lands against a Majoris enemy to get your light, heavy attack to land and still have the time to convert to a parry right at the last moment. That is the combo we want, chat. That uppercut. As you're approaching a horde of enemies, ensure you spam in fully charged shots of your plasma pistol to weaken them and thin out chaff before you throw your Cannon Punch in to start the combo rotation. Cannon Punch also instantly stuns Minoris enemies into a gun-strikeable state, which ensures that we can constantly keep our armor topped off since the new update has reworked the way this mechanic works. Actively seek out cannon punches on Minoris enemies to ensure there is always armor supply when you're in the heat of battle. Also, actively seek out perfect parries to proc intimidating aura for that AoE damage that does excellent work at thinning out Minoris enemies, whilst also proccing defensive advantage, which gives us a shock area AoE for 5 seconds every 30 seconds, folks, and this synergizes superbly with shock and awe that gives us an additional 25% damage to any enemies who are within the shock radius. This promotes a very aggressive style of play that rewards both the use of the Power Fist and the Plasma Pistol in unison to clear out hordes of enemies with ease. Because we spec the Plasma Pistol to charge up quickly, you should also aim to weave this in and out of your Power Fist attacks to optimize your DPS. A great thing to do is once you've hit a gun strike, if the enemy's not in an incapacitated state, charge a plasma shot off straight away and get that into their head, and that will often finish the job for you. It just takes a bit of time to feel around what works for you, but folks, trust me, if you stick with the Power Fist, you will have an absolute blast playing this build. Moving on to the perks, and in the first column we've got Intimidating Aura. A perfectly timed parry deals area of effect damage within a 5-meter radius. This is absolutely fantastic when you get surrounded by Minoris enemies. Landing those perfect parries, which you will do a lot with a fencing Power Fist, by the way, just deletes them and gets them out of the way, and it's highly supportive in team setups and solo setups alike. You can opt for forward momentum after a shield bash melee damage increased by 25% for 5 seconds. Personally, playing with the Power Fist, I just don't see the merit of doing this because the Power Fist just feels so lacking in comparison to the Power Sword. Moving on to the second column, Shock and Awe. No brainer here, folks. Enemies in a shock area take 25% more damage. That synergizes perfectly with defensive advantage. A perfectly timed parry creates a shock area for 5 seconds and the cooldown's 30 seconds on that. This procs all the time and the synergy between those is absolutely fantastic. In your team slot, I've gone for advanced conditioning. Contested health fades 50% more slowly for all squad members. This is brilliant when you put your banner down for yourself or other teammates just to get that health topped off with those executes. Moving on to the next column, Focus Strength. Shield Bash knocks back enemies and makes them lose control for a longer period of time. It's just a nice stun to have, folks, and it works out really nicely for us. In this column, I've heard that this column is currently bugged. No matter what you pick, you still get Invigorating Icon. It gives everyone that massive contested health buff. So until that point is changed, I'm just going to keep going with Purity of Purpose. The banner deals a small amount of damage over time to enemies within its area of effect. This one goes well with damage perks that we went over earlier, such as Intimidating Aura. It just all adds up over time, folks. You can often find yourself incapacitating a Majorus enemy when they're just stood inside your shock aura, so that's a really nice touch. And then in the final column, Rejuvenating Effect is the one we go with for team play. That allows us to revive our incapacitated squad mates with its area of effect. You can, of course, go for Inspiration, which, like I was just saying before, tops off that damage. It gives you a further 10% damage to anyone standing within that area, so that's also a nice touch. Moving on to the signature move, Emergency Countermeasure. When your armor is depleted, a reserve shot grenade automatically detonates at your position with a 2-minute cooldown. It's really effective. It gets you out of a bind often. You can, of course, take Defensive Mastery for that instant incapacitate on a 2-minute cooldown against Majorus and Extremist level enemies. It's a toss-up between these. I just find the shot grenade a lot more useful, folks. And Armored Advance, I don't use it, and I haven't used it. Maybe you have. Sound off in the comments below. In terms of our secondary weapon, we're going with the Plasma Pistol, and I've gone with Aphelion Liberation purely because it has the largest ammo reserve. And in terms of the perks, we're going straight across the top for Common Cooling, which generates less heat with common shots. Then on to Rapid Cooling, which is 10 enemies killed in rapid succession, stops your weapon from heating. Very nice with those AoE kills against Minoris enemies. And then this is what we're actually looking for, folks. Things like damage radius from a charge shot increased by 5%. And again here, this charging your shot faster by 20%. That makes it possible for us to do the combo that I mentioned where we're charging our shots off after landing a parry and a gun strike. It just lets us get in there. And this is where you have a decision to make. You can continue to go across the top and get another 20% faster charge rate. That is an option. And then you could continue to go across here to continue to lean into the charge shots. I personally prefer to go down here and look at energy reserve of plasma weapons being increased by 20% and just giving ourselves a little bit more ammo economy because we're already really strapped in that department. And that takes us to Retaliation, which gives us that nice 25% increased damage for 5 seconds after a perfectly timed dodge. Moving on to the Power Fist, and we're going with Agamedes Gift here purely for the fact, folks, that it is a fencing defense type weapon. And if we take a look at the perks, it's very straightforward in my opinion. We go straight across the bottom for increased melee damage all the way along until we're getting to this one here, which increases our damage by 20% to Minoris enemies. And this is the cookie cutter choice in my opinion. Cannon Punch, dealing 50% more damage. It's such a great initiator. We do it so often, it makes the most sense to me to increase that damage threshold and hopefully make that massive impact when we're in those crazy maul situations and parrying left, right, and center and spamming that attack as well. If you're looking for an incredibly powerful Assault Thunderhammer build that also explores animation cancelling, check out this next video. It's got you covered. Take care of yourselves. Keep having fun. Come check out a stream on YouTube or Twitch, and I'll see you in the next one.